My name is Harry, I'm British, and I've taught thousands of students from all around the world. My students have gone on to get better jobs, improve their confidence, pass important exams. Now, when it comes to learning English, yes, you have to learn about grammar and vocabulary, but I think it's also nice to think about different topics. So when I say this line to you, don't take life too seriously. Nobody gets out alive anyway. What does this mean to you? Well, the first part, don't take life too seriously. To me, this means to think about the bigger picture, because in life we have a lot of stress as we get older. When we're children, we don't have so much stress. As we get older, we have bills to pay, we have stress at work, stress at home. We have a lot of expectations, maybe from us about ourselves, about things that we want to achieve or where we think we should be at a certain point in our lives. If we look back 30, 40 years ago, for example, it was a lot easier for someone to buy property, to buy a house. But with the younger generation, they can see that it's very difficult. We have things like the cost of living crisis. So those expectations are different. Maybe your parents' generation, they had it easier in some aspects because they could work any kind of job, save up money and buy a house. But today, many young people are being forced to either live at home for longer than they expected. And their expectations are different. They have a lot of stress on their shoulders. So when you say don't take life too seriously, sometimes it can be difficult to do because life is very serious. But on the other hand, if you stress too much about life, I feel it can take away the enjoyment. If you're so focused on getting to the end goal, you don't enjoy that process, and it feels like a struggle along the way. So yes, you have your goal, you have your end objective, but trying to enjoy that process is really important. And sometimes it is difficult to do. Say, for example, you're in a job just for the money to get the end goal, but every day is a struggle. You don't feel like getting up, you don't feel like going into work. You're just living for the weekend or living for your holiday. So your quality of life struggles. Your quality of life is not good. But then on the other hand, if you are doing something that you love and you enjoy, but you're not getting paid enough, then you can also struggle, because that's the reality of the world. You have to pay for things. You have to pay for your rent, your bills, everyday expenses. I've actually been watching a lot of YouTube videos about van life recently. And I watched one video and now so hundreds are popping up on my feed. I just found it interesting initially that someone could just go and live in their van, live off the grid. So when you're off the grid, you are pretty much self-sustained. You have minimal outgoings, you have minimal costs. You're paying for your rent. Not paying for your rent, you're paying for your petrol, you're paying for the repairs on the car, but you're not paying for a property. And you get to travel and see different things, new scenery, experience different cultures and different environments. So you have more freedom than when you're just in one fixed location. And I think that sometimes society can force you to take life seriously when you have so many things to pay for. But not taking life seriously can alleviate some pressure, alleviate some stress. Maybe you're in a situation where you can't afford to do that because life is so stressful. So what do you do in those situations? I think in those situations, you just have to focus as much as you can on your quality of life for that particular day. So exercising, trying to eat good food, trying to get good sleep, and stress can affect the quality of your sleep. So maybe having a journal, I think it's really good to improve your English, to have a journal, write your thoughts in the journal, and trying really to focus on things that you can control, because so much in life you can't control. A lot of life can be luck. Look at this YouTube channel, for example. If I look back at all the videos that I created hundreds of videos, and I literally spent thousands of hours creating these videos, from thinking about the idea, creating the scripts, researching, then recording, then editing, then uploading, then checking the analytics. And I've been really grateful that the channel's grown. But initially I thought, okay, this channel will grow bigger than it actually has, because I've got so much experience when it comes to teaching English, and I've helped so many students. I thought, okay, this would start to grow. But it didn't grow as fast as I expected. But then I had to think, right, what skills have I learned? So I learned skills like speaking to the camera. Even when I'm teaching students, I'm extremely comfortable when it comes to really tailoring the help for each student. And that brings me a lot of joy when I see students improve in their journey and they tell me, Harry, I've got a new job, thank you so much. So that joy that I get when I've helped that person in their life is amazing. So, see the bigger picture, don't take life too seriously. And the second part, nobody gets out alive anyway. So even if you get to your end goal, you're not magically going to live forever. So it also puts things into perspective, that doesn't matter if you take life seriously, don't take life seriously. It's not going to make you live for an extra hundreds and hundreds of years. So, it kind of reminds me that it's okay to make mistakes myself. This video itself isn't perfect. I've learned so much about content creation, the different types of content creation, and I think I've become really good at creating content. And I think part of the process is self-reflection, looking at where you need to improve, but also giving yourself praise. When you're doing well, don't be ashamed to tell yourself that you've improved or you are good at something. There are different types of content creation. So with short form content, it's really about capturing people's attention, showing them something novel, showing them something unique or different, to capture their attention, to stop the scroll. But I think sometimes with YouTube, with long form content, it's nice to have videos, especially when you're learning English, that you have these videos where they are longer. So it gives you an opportunity to listen to someone's point of view and think about your responses. If the content is too short for this type of learning, you may get a false sense of security, like, yes, you've learned something quick, but how can you apply it? So with this quote, I really want you to think about how you can apply this and approach it from both sides. So again, don't take life too seriously. Nobody gets out alive anyway. What does that mean to you? How does that make you feel? And you can start to ask questions about this. So the best way is the 5 W's: who, what, where, when, why. And you can try to ask questions about this. For example, who would this be important for? What does this mean to me? I think having a broader perspective is really good. I think it's really healthy for your mental health. I think that if you take this from a personal perspective and you internalize it, you can think about your motivation. Where does your motivation come from? Is it intrinsic or is it extrinsic? I think if it's intrinsic, it's always much more powerful, because you are thinking about how you can do things that you like and how you can improve the lives of others. I think having good energy, I think, is really important, because life itself can be very difficult unless you're very fortunate. to be in a position where, for example, you are financially free, because the stress of worrying about money can actually cause, a lot of health problems as well. So let me know, what do you think about this quote?